You can see that this is a frequency table, and it shows the number of raffle tickets sold by students in your grade. This is just an example. This is our first example question in section 7-3. This is what corresponds to our textbook, at least, or your workbook. And so you can get some examples in your workbook and stuff like that that we will discuss more in the future. But this is a frequency table. So a frequency table just marks a certain range and then how many people count for that number of tickets that were actually sold. And so it just frequency is another way of just saying the number of people or the count of individuals. And it gives you a range of values. What it wants you to do is it wants you to display the data in a histogram. Okay, so we make a y-axis and an x-axis. Try to make it nice and pretty. A little trickier with my computer program here I'm using. But always on this side, if I can write sideways, frequency. That's a Q. We get the idea. Frequency. All right. On that side is where the frequency goes. I need to go by the same increments each time. So it needs to go increase by the same amount and try to keep them nice and spaced and regular. If you're doing this on your own paper, it's nice sometimes when they give you a blank frequency, like X and Y graph to be able to just fill in. And so down here on the bottom, what do I want to label this? This is the number of tickets. Number of tickets sold. Okay, and here are some examples of bad histograms. Bad histograms would be like, here's one where, what's the problem with this histogram, right? This particular bar or this particular interval is what we often call it, is too large. The intervals have to be spaced regularly and repeating, and they have to be spaced by the same amount. Each bar will represent a total number of counts or frequency in between two numbers, in between that interval. So we're going to label this one 1 to 8. And then this one's going to be 9 to 16. And then this one's going to be 17 to 24. You know, and you don't have to label them like that. Instead, you could actually label the actual numbers on in between here. But this is actually an okay way to label it as well. You get the idea as we keep going, right? So this is 25 to 32. And this is a little bit of work to do this, right? 33 to 40. And this is 41 to 48, and we get the idea. One more interval, we get 49 to 56. Okay, now I'm going to display my data. Let's change this color. Let's go blue. Okay, so we're going to go 5 counts. 5 people bought tickets that were bought 1 to 8 tickets. So what am I going to label each of these? My maximum is 25. So what if I went by 5s? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That's about right. I think that would probably serve us well. It has to go by the same amount. So if it jumps by 5 on this first tick mark on here, then it has to go by 5s on the entire thing. Okay, it has to stay consistent. So I got 15, 20, and 25. Okay, we get the idea here. And so now I'm going to make some bars, and that first one goes up to 5 and crosses over, and you can shade it if you want to, but you don't have to. And then the other one here is going to go up to 9, which is almost 10. So somewhere about right there. All my bars are consistently the same size. So this is a no-no. We don't do that. And your intervals down here have to be equally spaced. These need to be equally spaced and going by the same amount. Even these intervals are given to us up here, but they go by the same amount. Each time it jumps by 8. Every single time they jump by 8. And so that has to be something that takes place as well. And so this one right here, 9 to 16 is 9. And so the next one is going to jump to 16, which is about right there. And the next one is going to jump to 25 in the middle here. And then the next one is going to be at 20. Right about there. And then the next one, so I'm just kind of checking them off as I go down, right? And then the next one is at 8, which is kind of estimate about right there, just shy of 10. Okay. And then the very last one is at 7, which is just a step or hair below. You know what? I made that one just a little wide, I think. I would come in about right there to end it, just so all the bars are the same size. You could shade them if you want, but there's really no reason to if you would like to do something fancy like that. Okay, this is a histogram. The bars must touch, not a bar graph, right? A bar graph has bars like this, and they don't touch. This is more of a categorical thing to do, like who has blue eyes, who has brown eyes, who has green eyes, yada, yada, yada. There are people in categories. This is not people necessarily in word categories. It's more of a number range. And so it's a spread of data from low to high. And that's the idea, is that we get the overall spread. We can also kind of put on sort of a line on here like this. And we see this is a fairly symmetric distribution because of the shape of it overall. It is fairly symmetric on both sides of the middle, which is the mean. And so when it says describe the shape of it, we would classify this as a symmetric. There we go. All right. So